SLT Mobitel Fiber, the fiber of the nation. SLT Mobitel Fiber, the fiber of the nation.
Comfort Moodiයෙන් භාගයයි කලක් පවතින අලුත් පෙනුමයි.
Tonight, getting there. 4-hour train strike deals a blow to Sri Lanka's struggling tourism efforts.
We didn't know that there was a strike, so we have to change our plans.
On holiday, man. I could have just got a car.
A season of care. Highest single-day booster shots rolled out as health and safety guidelines extended for 15 more days amidst rising global Omicron numbers.
We're concerned that people are dismissing Omicron as mild. Surely, we have learned by now that we underestimate this virus at our peril.
Wrong number. The Defence Secretary says the local and global critics have misunderstood the true meaning of militarisation. Royal design. Sri Lanka's Dumbara Rata weaving gets listed by UNESCO as an intangible global heritage. All that and much more coming up on First at 9, this Wednesday, the 15th of December, 2021.
Introducing New Hellmann's, the world's #1 mayonnaise brand, now in Sri Lanka.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening, welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammika Kanaka. Now, following revelations by the Sri Lanka Standards Institute on low levels of ethyl mercaptan in LP gas consignments transported to Sri Lanka aboard 2 ships, the Consumer Affairs Authority has refused permission for Litrogas Lanka Limited to unload the cargo. In the meantime, Litrogas Lanka Limited has given an assurance to court that a gas composition sticker will be placed on their new gas cylinders.
Last weekend, 2 vessels named Epic Bolter and PGC Pericles arrived at the Colombo port, each carrying 3,200 metric tons of liquid petroleum gas to be supplied to Litrogas Lanka Limited. Upon arrival, samples of the LPG on board both vessels were collected for testing by the Sri Lanka Standards Institute. The test results proved that both the propane to butane ratio of the LPG was up to standard. However, the levels of ethyl mercaptan, the substance that gives LP gas its distinctive odor, was questionable. Usually 1 cubic meter of LP gas is expected to contain 14 cubic centimeters of ethyl mercaptan. However, the SLSI test report revealed that the consignment on board Epic Bolter only had 10 cubic centimeters of ethyl mercaptan to a cubic meter of LPG, while the level of ethyl mercaptan to a cubic centimeter on board the vessel PGC Pericles was only 6 cubic centimeters. As a result, the Consumer Affairs Authority ordered Litrogas Lanka Limited to refrain from unloading the consignment at the Colombo port, as it does not comply with the SLSI standards. Both the rejected LPG tankers are now anchored off the coast of Bopitia. In the meantime, the writ petition filed by civil society activist Nagahananda Kodituwaku with regard to the series of gas explosions were taken up for hearing before the Court of Appeal today. Representing Litrogas Lanka Limited, President's Counsel Harsha Amarasekara said that his client was only supplying LPG cylinders in compliance with the standards of the Sri Lanka Standards Institute. He also said that a standard with regard to the propane to butane ratio in a cylinder is yet to be prepared by the Sri Lanka Standards Institute. The attorney for Litrogas Lanka then went on to say that a meeting chaired by the SLSI officials will be convened on the 20th of December to discuss the composition of domestic gas. Further, President's Counsel Amarasekara said that his client has agreed to display a sticker indicating the LPG composition, including in gas cylinders. Finally, the appeal court ordered Litrogas Lanka Limited to submit an affidavit with regard to the submissions presented. The petition will be taken up again for hearing tomorrow.
Now then, the third witness set to testify in the Easter attacks case against former Defence Secretary Hemistry Fernando, which was taken up at the Colombo Permanent High Court trial at bar today, will not be testifying after all. The Attorney General's Department informed court today after a serious delay that former National Intelligence Chief Cicero Mendes will not be called as a witness.
The case against former Defence Secretary Hemasiri Fernando, filed over criminal negligence in failing to prevent the Easter Sunday terror attacks, despite there being intelligence of a pending attack, was taken up today before the Colombo Permanent High Court trial at bar. Accordingly, former Chief of National Intelligence Cicero Mendes, who has been named as the third witness in the case, appeared before court. Appearing for the Attorney General's Department, Deputy Solicitor General Sudarshan De Silva called for the witness to be examined by the Colombo Judicial Medical Officer to examine whether he is physically and mentally fit to testify. When asked by the Deputy Solicitor General Sudarshan De Silva whether his client was fit to testify, President's Counsel Shanaka Ranasinghe, who appeared for the witness, responded in the affirmative. However, the President's Counsel added that his client would require rest periods while testifying due to illness, similar to his 7-day testimony at the Easter Sunday Commission. With that, Judge Mohammad Irshadeen reminded the Deputy Solicitor General that the question of fitness to testify needs to be decided only if he is called to give testimony. After considering the views of both parties, the bench rejected the request of the Deputy Solicitor General and decided to call the witness Cicero Mendes. Following this, Deputy Solicitor General Sudarshan De Silva requested 1 day to inform the court of whether Cicero Mendes would be called to testify. With that, Judge Aditya Patapendige reminded the Deputy Solicitor General that other cases had been postponed to make way for this case and that the court's time cannot be wasted in such a manner. Following this, the Deputy Solicitor General asked for a short recess to inform the court of the prosecution's decision. When court reconvened, Deputy Solicitor General Sudarshan De Silva informed the court that former Chief of Intelligence that Cicero Mendes will not be called as a witness. Accordingly, the 3-judge High Court bench adjourned the case until January 18th.
Defence Secretary General Kamal Gunaratne says that local and international critics have mislabeled the appointment of ex-military personnel to public positions as militarisation. Speaking at a media briefing at the President's Media Centre today, he explained that militarisation means something more serious than what is happening in Sri Lanka, which is basically ex-servicemen continuing to serve the country.
Speaking at a media briefing held at the President's Media Centre today, Defence Secretary General Kamal Gunaratne explained that local and international critics of the government's appointment of retired military officers to state institutions have misunderstood the meaning of the term militarization.
Military කරණය කියලා කියන්නේ military ආණ්ඩුවක් මිසක් විශ්‍රාම ගිය නිලධාරීන් කීප දෙනෙක් රජයේ තනතුරු කිහිපයකට යන එක නෙවෙයි. මොකද දැන් military ආණ්ඩුවක් තියෙන රටවල් තිබුණා ඒ කාලේ. එතකොට ඒක සම්පූර්ණ අන්න එක තමයි military කරණය කියලා කියන්නේ. martial law declare කරනවා කිසිම කෙනෙකුට කතා කරන්න අයිතියක් නැහැ, නිදහසක් නැහැ, ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදය වැළලීලා ගිහිල්ලා. අන්න ඒව තමයි military කරණය කියන්නේ. ඉතින් මේ වැරදි වචනයක් මේ යොදන්නේ. දැන් උදාහරණයකට මම ගත්තොත් මම වසර 35ක් තිස්සේ මේ ශ්‍රී ලංකා යුද හමුදාවේ සේවය කරපු අධ්‍යක්ීම් සම්භාරයක් තියෙන නිලධාරියෙක්. එතකොට මම දැක්ක පහුගිය කාලේ අර එක්සත් ජාතීන්ගේ සංවිධානයේ මානව හිමිකම් සංවිධානයේ කොමසාරිස් ජනරාල් තුමිය කියලා තිබුණා මේ විශ්‍රාම ගිය හමුදා නිලධාරීන්ව රජයේ තනතුරු වලට යොදලා මේක මිලිටරි කරණයක් කරන කතාවක්. ඉතින් මෙතනදී කියන්න ඕන දේ මේකයි. මම හමුදාවේ අවුරුදු 35ක් සේවය කරා මම වෙන්න පුළුවන් වෙනත් නිලධාරියෙක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. අවුරුදු 35ක් රාජකාරී කරා කියන්නේ ඒක විශ්‍රාම ගියාට පස්සේ මගේ තියෙන සුදුසුකම් වලට අනුව මගේ තියෙන දැනුමට අනුව අත්දැකීම් වලට අනුව ඒ සුදුසුකම් දැනුම සහ අත්දැකීම් භාවිතා කරගෙන රජයේ තනතුරක් හෙබවීම රටට සේවය කිරීම වරදක්ද. ඒ කියන්නේ දශක 3කට අධික කාලයක් හමුදාවක සේවය කිරීම විශ්‍රාම ගියන් පස්සේ රටට ජනතාවට සේවය කිරීමට තහනමක් දැමීම සඳහා කරන ලද වරදක්ද. අන්නේ විදිහට තමයි කිංස්ලි අපි ඔය මිලිටරි කරණය කියන වචනයක බලන්න ඕනේ. මිලිටරි කරණය කියන්නේ මේ ඔය විවේචකයන් අදහස් කරන දේ නෙවෙයි. මිලිටරි කරණය කියන්නේ සම්පූර්ණයෙන් මිලිටරි ආණ්ඩුවක් පිහිටුවීම.
A 4-hour train strike carried out today by locomotive engineers threw a spoke in the wheel of efforts made by Sri Lankan authorities to redeem the country's ailing tourism sector. A strike that went into effect at noon today affected the plans of tourists who were hoping to get the picturesque experience of Sri Lanka's coastal belt railway line.
The Locomotive Engineers Association staged a protest today at 12 noon in front of the Fort Railway Station. The protest was staged due to several issues that they say they have been facing in the recent past. Some of the issues were the cancellation of promotions for officials of various levels in the railway department and engine drivers, and the arbitrary decision to expel railway employees who were unable to report to duty during the pandemic. The 4-hour train strike severely inconvenienced the general public as well as some of Sri Lanka's few tourists. Sri Lanka had 44,294 tourists flying into the country in the past month, the highest figure seen throughout the year. Some of the tourists who had hoped to experience Sri Lanka's widely renowned and picturesque countryside train journey were severely inconvenienced.
We didn't know that there was an stray, so we have to change our plans, our trip. But it's okay. We are really happy in Sri Lanka.
There's a lot of people here, but there's nobody in responsibility. If I go to the office, it's shut and it has a desk pushed against the door. Yeah, I'm on holiday, man. I could have just got a car.
As such, the Sri Lanka Transport Board took measures to deploy several SLTB buses from Maradana to Gampha at around 4 p.m. for inconvenience passengers. However, the train strike was called off at 4 p.m. after discussions between the railway unions and the authorities at the railway headquarters were held in the afternoon. Secretary to the Locomotive Engineers Association, Indika Dodangoda, said that they were able to direct their concerns to the authorities during the meeting and were also given a time to meet with the Minister of Transportation as well. However, the resumption of the train activities was slow and had prompted strong criticism on part of the public.
Sri Lanka's ancient traditional craftsmanship of Dumbara Rata weaving has been added to the UNESCO World Cultural Heritage List of Intangible Art Forms. The recognition was given at the 16th session of the Intergovernmental Committee for the Safeguarding of the Intangible Cultural Heritage in Paris, France. The event is taking place from the 13th to the 18th of December this year.
Dumbara Rata weaving has been added to the representative list of the Intangible Cultural Heritage of Humanity list after being nominated and being judged to have met the relevant criteria by a multinational committee of the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, or UNESCO. Inhabiting the Dumbara Valley, the community of weavers reside in the two villages named Kala Sirigama and Alokagama. The residents of those villages of an ancient community of weavers called Kinnara, who supplied Sri Lanka's 15th to 19th century kings and royal courtiers with ornamental Dumbara mats to adorn their palaces with. The service to the kings were in the form of obligatory service. Made from the fibers of the Hanna plant, the Dumbara mats are turned out into some of Sri Lanka's most unique and distinctive traditional art pieces in the form of mats, wall hangings and tapestries. Derived from Buddhist and Hindu mythology, the designs are a display of intricate workmanship and give you a glimpse into the refinement in royal tastes of ancient times. With the listing of Dumbara mats on the UNESCO list, it now places the traditional art form into the same list as the Durga Puja in Kolkata, the Congolese rumba music, and Arabic calligraphy. This is only the second time a Sri Lankan art form has been included on the list, with the first being Sri Lankan traditional string puppet drama called Rukadanatya.
We will see you shortly on the other side of this break. Stay with us.
Big 3.
Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, a significant rise in booster administrations has been observed in Sri Lanka, with 200,346 people administered with a booster dose in a single day yesterday. This is the highest number of booster doses administered in a single day since the program started in November. Meanwhile, the Director General of Health Services announced today that the previously released health and safety guidelines will be extended for 15 more days without any changes.
The presence of the Omicron variant was first announced to the world on the 26th of November. It has almost been 3 weeks since then, and as of today, the variant has already spread to 77 countries. The World Health Organization revealed this startling figure today and stated that the variant could probably already be active in even more countries, even though it hasn't been detected yet. The WHO adds that the Omicron variant seems to be spreading at a faster rate than any other previous variant.
We're concerned that people are dismissing Omicron as mild. Surely, we have learned by now that we underestimate this virus at our peril. Even if Omicron does cause less severe disease, the sheer number of cases could once again overwhelm unprepared health systems. I need to be very clear. Vaccines alone will not get any country out of this crisis. Countries can and must prevent the spread of Omicron with measures that work today. It's not vaccines instead of masks. It's not vaccines instead of distancing. It's not vaccines instead of ventilation or hand hygiene. Do it all.
In addition, officials of the Global Health Body also pointed out that another preliminary study showed data to prove an increase in Omicron variant's ability to grow in numbers on a daily basis compared to other variants.
But there's another one parameter that most people have not paid close attention. That's the growth rate. How frequent on the daily change that's happening. So two diseases may have the same reproductive number, but the change they do will be completely different. We are seeing what we have never seen before in an outbreak with this Omicron. It took almost 1 week for Alpha within Denmark increased the double. Now we are seeing 44% daily change with Omicron. When we have more data, the number may be smaller, but we are seeing an incredible high number of growth rate seen with Omicron. Within one time, your health system is going to hit the vulnerables, and within 2-3 weeks, it can overwhelm. So it's an early data. Scientists are looking at it very carefully.
With this being the case, many countries are increasing the rollout of booster doses targeting their vulnerable populations and increasing vaccine coverage. The World Health Organization said that in the past 10 weeks, the organization has been able to ship more vaccine doses via its COVAX facility to more countries than in the first 9 months of this year. Sri Lanka too has taken a similar path, as measures have been taken to ensure boosters are rolled out to all over 20s in the country. So far, 1,649,368 people have been administered with a booster dose. In Sri Lanka, the enthusiasm to get the booster has also significantly risen. In the past 2 days, Sri Lanka's single-day booster administrations have reached record levels. On Monday the 13th of this month, 134,825 people received the booster dose. However, the highest single-day booster administrations were recorded yesterday, with 200,346 people getting the jab. The general population has also been advised to get the booster after 3 months in the case of the Sinopharm vaccination and 6 months after receiving any other vaccine. However, medical experts were quizzed today on what the procedure should be for a person who contracts the virus after getting 2 shots of a vaccine.
මාත්‍රා දෙක ලබා ගත්තට පස්සේ මේ කොවිඩ් රෝගය වැළඳුනොත් අපි කියන්නේ කොවිඩ් රෝගය වැළඳිලා මාස 6කට පස්සේ එන්නත ලබා ගන්න කියලා. 6 මාසයකට පස්සේ ලබා ගන්න කියන්නේ සමහරට ස්වභාවික ප්‍රතිශක්තිය වැඩි කල පවතින්නේ නැති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඉතින් ඒකයි අපි ඒක 6 මාසයකට පස්සේ ලබා ගන්න කියලා කියලා තියෙන්නේ.
Now then, a new Gazette notification has been issued making it mandatory for all devotees to carry their vaccine cards with them when climbing Adams Peak, known as Sripada, this season. According to the guidelines, no devotees will be able to stay at the Adams Peak compound and will have to adhere to health and safety guidelines.
An extraordinary gazette has been issued stipulating a set of guidelines for everyone hoping to climb Adams Peak during the pilgrimage season, commencing from the 18th of December 2021 to the 16th of May 2022. As such, all devotees are required to carry their vaccine cards or a copy of it with them during the journey, and they will not be permitted to stay at the Adams Peak compound. The basic health and safety guidelines must also be followed at all times by devotees. According to the guidelines, marketings and alms halls should be conducted subject to relevant health guidelines. Further, hawkers are not allowed to sell goods within the Sripada compound and restroom premises and along the route due to the pandemic situation. Selling of puja items, puja trays, food items or other commodities shall not be allowed at any place except the places where permission has been granted by the Ratnapura District Secretary or by any other authorized officer. Carrying along the pilgrim's route or storing, sale or purchase at boutiques and consuming any liquor, cigarettes or any other narcotic is also strictly prohibited. The Gazette notification added that no person shall establish, maintain any permanent or temporary boutique or conduct business therein or either side of access roads except at places already permitted.
Samagi Janabalawege parliamentarian and chief opposition whip Lakshman Kiriyala says that the president's prorogation of parliament was a deliberate move to stifle the work of COPE and COPA, 2 key parliamentary committees. Kiriyala also accused the government of plans to delay the reconstitution of the committees when parliament reconvenes on the 18th of January.
අද මම කතා කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුව වාර අවසන් කිරීම ගැන. අපේ රටේ ව්‍යවස්ථාව අනුව මේ බලය ජනාධිපතිතුමාට තියෙනවා. නමුත් රට අර්බුදයක පවතින අවස්ථාවක සාමාන්‍යයෙන් මේ වගේ දෙයක් කරන්නේ නැහැ. නිදහසෙන් පස්සේ අපේ රට අද තියෙන්නේ අපේ ඉතිහාසයේ ඉතාමත් භයානක ආර්ථික අර්බුදයක. ඒ වගේම විශාල දේශපාලන අර්බුදයක. මෙවැනි අවස්ථාවල පාර්ලිමේන්තුව වහන එක නෙවෙයි පාර්ලිමේන්තු වාර ගන්න වැඩි කරන්න ඕන. මේ වාර අවසන් කිරීම බ්‍රිතාන්‍ය පාර්ලිමේන්තුවෙන් එන සම්ප්‍රදායක්. හැබැයි දෙවනි ලෝක යුද්ධ කාලේ 40යි 45යි අතර බ්‍රිතාන්‍ය පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට 14 වතාවක් බෝම්බ දැම්මා. නමුත් පාර්ලිමේන්තුව වැහුවේ නැහැ. පාර්ලිමේන්තුව ඒ අසල තියෙන පල්ලියක පාර්ලිමේන්තුව පැවැත්තුවා. අර්බුදයක් තියෙන අවස්ථාවක පාර්ලිමේන්තුව අත්‍යවශ්‍යයි. අර්බුදයක් තියෙන අවස්ථාවක පාර්ලිමේන්තුව වහන්නේ ඊටවත් පැහැදිලි ආණ්ඩුවට මේ ප්‍රශ්න වලට උත්තර නැති. දැන් මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුව වැහිමින් ඇති ඵල විපාක මොනවද? කෝප් එක කෝපායක වගේ වැදගත් කමිටි සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම අහෝසි වෙනවා. මෙව අහෝසි වුණාම දැන් අපි 18 වෙනිදා රැස් වුණාම මෙව නැවත වරක් යථා තත්ත්වයට පත් කරන්න යනකොට ආණ්ඩුවට පුළුවන් ප්‍රමාද කරන්න. දැන් අපේ විවස්ථාවේ තියෙන ආංශික අධීක්ෂක කාරක සභාව කියලා. නමුත් ජනාධිපතිතුමා පත් වෙලා අවුරුදු 2යි. පාර්ලිමේන්තුව අවුරුද්දකට වැඩි. තාම මේ ආංශික අධීක්ෂක කාරක සභාව පත් කළා. ඉතින් ඒ වගේ මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තු කාරක සභාව නැවත පත්වීම ප්‍රමාද කරන්න ආණ්ඩුවට ක්‍රියා කරන්න පුළුවන්. ආණ්ඩුවට නන් නොදී ඉන්න පුළුවන්. ප්‍රමාද කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඒක දැනටමත් වෙලා තියෙනවා ආංශික අධීක්ෂක කාරක සභාව පත් කළා නැහැ. නවරාජ්‍ය බලයට පත් වුණා.
The 7 suspects, including 6 Iranians who were apprehended on Saturday during a naval operation which saw a 250-kilogram haul of heroin being found aboard a foreign vessel, were brought ashore today. Sri Lanka Navy intercepted the foreign vessel in international waters off Sri Lanka's southern coast following a 25-day joint operation with the Police Narcotics Bureau.
Following a tip received by the Sri Lanka Navy intelligence warning of a major heroin consignment being transported to Sri Lanka, the Navy and the Police Narcotics Bureau launched another daring operation in international waters. During a 25-day operation at sea, the Navy intercepted a suspicious fishing vessel about 1,665 kilometers off the country's southern coast. During a search of the vessel, the Navy was able to detect 9 sacks containing 225 heroin packages, weighing over 250 kilograms. 7 foreign suspects, including 6 Iranian and a single Pakistani national, were taken into naval custody. Meanwhile, this morning, the seized heroin stock and the suspects were brought to the Colombo port. Defence Secretary General Kamal Gunaratne, Commander of the Sri Lanka Navy Vice Admiral Nishant Urugethanne, also arrived at the Colombo port and inspected the haul of seized narcotics.
වෙනත් අවස්ථාවල දකින්න නොතිබුණු වර්ගයේ මද්ද්‍රව්‍ය. වර්ගය කියන්නේ නිෂ්පාදන ආයතන. ඒගොල්ලොන්ගේ නිෂ්පාදන ආයතනවල මද්ද්‍රව්‍ය ප්‍රමාණයක් අපිට දක්නට හැකියාව ලැබිලා තියෙනවා. පොලිස් මද්ද්‍රව්‍ය කාර්යාංශ විසින් නාවික හමුදාවෙන් මෙම මද්ද්‍රව්‍ය තොගය බාර ගන්න ලබනවා. ඒ බාර ගැනීමට පස්සේ අධිකරණයට කරුණු වාර්තා කරලා ඉදිරි විමර්ශන කටයුතු සිදු කරන ලබනවා.
Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now taking a look at the Colombo Bourse, the all-share price index lost 42.42 points to end at 11,754.46 today. The S&P SL20 index of more liquid stocks meanwhile also ended down at 4,233.02 after losing 15.52 points. Market turnover was 7.4 billion rupees. With that, here's Dimantha Mathi with a brief report on today's market performance.
At the start of the day itself, we saw a sharp dip in the market during the first half an hour of trading. After that, we saw the market going through a bit of a recovery until about midday. However, after midday, the selling pressure came back into the market and the ASPI was on a downward trend yet again. Finally, the index closed with a dip of 42 points. The retail favorite counter, especially the transportation sector counter, saw a sizable dip in the market, and that was one of the main contributors to the dip in the ASPI. In addition to that, we saw the interest in construction and building material segment. The turnover levels were very high, 7.4 billion rupees of turnover, slightly lower than yesterday, but continuing to be onto the high side. A number of transactions also, 54,000 transactions at a very high level.
The Sri Lankan rupee, meanwhile, continues to remain at 202.99 cents against the US dollar. Now let's take a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other major currencies during the day. Eleven bodies have been found while 25 people remain missing after a boat carrying suspected undocumented migrants from Indonesia capsized off Malaysia today. 14 people reported safe among the estimated 50 aboard the boat. The Malaysian Maritime Enforcement Agency said a research and rescue operation had been launched for those missing. According to Malaysian Maritime Enforcement Agency, all of the migrants involved were Indonesians. The accident is the latest in a string of disasters recorded in the waterways between Indonesia and Malaysia in recent years, often involving overloaded boats ferrying labourers seeking work in Malaysian factories and plantations. South Africa's High Court today ordered former President Jacob Zuma to return to jail after setting aside the decision to release him on medical parole. The 79-year-old began medical parole in September and is serving a 15-month sentence for contempt of court after he ignored instructions to participate in a corruption inquiry. In the same month, South Africa's top court dismissed a bid by him to overturn the sentence. The legal processes against Zuma for alleged corruption during his 9-year reign are widely viewed as a test of post-apartheid South Africa's ability to enforce rule of law, particularly against powerful, well-connected people. Zuma handed himself in on July 7th to begin his prison sentence, triggering the worst violence South Africa had seen in years, as angry Zuma supporters took to the streets to loot, which led to the death of over 300 people. The Department of Correctional Services said it was studying the judgment and in due course will take further pronouncements. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.